How's it going, everybody? Ed Ricker here. I found the only little bit of shade out here to sit down and give a review of the VCI Dove. Well, this isn't actually it. This is the carrying case. It's a pretty awesome fixed wing aircraft, and for someone like me who's relatively new to the fixed wing RC world, it's pretty easy to put together. Now, VCI, or Vulcan Innovation, is a new company, and so this is one of their new products that was just released the other day. Because of that, I've got a few notes that I want to share with you. We have the ability to condense it down into a case. That's pretty great. So the bigger the aircraft, the less likely this is going to fit nicely into your vehicle when you're traveling to your flight destination. Because we can break it down and put it back together very easy is one of the best features that I straight up want to tell you about. The biggest challenge and the most time-consuming part is going to be installing your custom electrical components, like your VTX with the camera and the antenna, and also your receiver, in my case, PWM receiver. One thing to keep in mind with these wings, there's not really a big satisfying click when you push them in. You want to make sure that these are not going to come off mid-flight. So if you think you got them in, pull on them a little bit. See if either of them pops out. There's little tabs that you push to disengage the wing clamp. On the back we have a propeller, and as you see, it's a collapsible propeller. And this helps not only when you're not throttling up with the aircraft. This propeller actually folds back for less wind resistance, more aerodynamics. It also helps with landing. So when you land, obviously you see there's no landing gear. When you land, you're going to skid on hopefully some nice grass. Either way, you're not going to be tearing up your propeller because that just gets pushed right out of the way. When you spin the motor up with your throttle, these spread back out and you got your thrust back. The motor is a VCI Spark 2306 1600 kV. You also see the boom here sticking out to the tail section goes through the motor. The propeller spins around the tail boom. That helps with making sure that the thrust is directly in line with the aircraft, so when you thrust up, it's not going to try and pitch up or down on you. It's very interesting. The way that you plug the boom here from the tail into the aircraft, there's a data connection point, obviously, because you got to get to these two servos for rudder and an elevator. And so that plugs in right here through the motor, then you secure that with a 1.5 mil screwdriver. Now, obviously, you have your ailerons here with servos. These are 4.3G servos, but on the back, not only do you have your elevator, but you have a rudder. And this is different from other fixed-wing aircraft that I've flown. This is the first time that I have ever had a rudder. So this helps not only with landing and positioning as you're trying to maneuver into a place to land, but also helps with coordinated turns like you might do with an FPV quad. You have your LED lights on the tips of the wings, as well as a nice, very bright white LED on the back here underneath the rudder. As you can see, we have this antenna out here. This is not for control. This is actually for the DJI O3 air unit. So I've turned this, what could be piloted line of sight, into an FPV aircraft. You can obviously buy it, plug and play with just your receiver that you install, but let's go all the way, folks, and make it FPV. So I have a DJI O3 air unit in there. You can also use analog, you can use Caddx Vista in there if you want. Not only is it designed to hold an O3 air unit because of how the screws are laid out and just the positioning of everything, also I just want to make sure that I can get great 4K or 2.7K recording straight from the video transmitter, as opposed to putting an action cam or something on here. Now, you do have a spot right on the top. You can actually hold an action cam on here using that mount, and you can hold up to 600 grams of extra payload. Now, on the back, you can see that we have our Beta FPV PWM receiver, and we have the antenna mounted vertically. Originally, I had it mounted horizontally, but vertically is better if you're really trying to push range with this so that you eliminate the nulls of the antenna.
When you're going longer range, you want to have your polarization on your antennas up. Sometimes you want to bury these, like in a fixed wing or a wing when you're freestyling and you're flying proxy and close. But when you're trying to go distance, polarization of your antennas is critical. and separation too. So eventually, what idea was to have this out on the wingtip, away from everything, so then it can get its optimum range, less interference.
Now the radio I use is the Radiomaster TX16S with the ELRS, Beta FPV ELRS 2.4 gigahertz transmitter unit right there. And so ELRS seems to work just great with this. Now this is how I have my radio set up, by the way. So the inputs, throttle is channel 1, elevator channel 2, aileron channel 3, rudder channel 4. And then if I go to the mixes, I do have 25% expo on elevator and aileron. Now airflow for the components in here is decent, although I have had that O3 air unit overheat when trying to record 4K footage. 2.7K, however, I've found is fine. It does not overheat with 2.7K recording internally with the O3 air unit. Now if you look on the bottom, let's see, right here and right here, there are these two little nubs, and that's where you're supposed to, after you've installed your battery, put your fingers and check for center of gravity. If it's bouncing backwards, you know that you're tail heavy. If it's bouncing forwards, you know that it's nose heavy. However, Shelby Volb, master fixed wing pilot that he is, found that the center of gravity is actually slightly forward.
So CG marks are right here, but what I found yesterday was the CG is actually right in front of it. So the edge of these little foam bumps, right in front of that is actually your CG. So now the reason why I know that is because I've flown it numerous times now on its CG that the factory came with, and it bounced and it lifted, didn't work right, even though I was bouncing on that point. So I shifted around yesterday to find it. Sometimes you have to do that on a wing or a fixed wing, is to find the CG, the proper one, where the nose will actually lock in to the air and not bounce off the air. It will actually tuck in and then connect into it, and then therefore the aircraft will track better. Next thing you want to do, right, if you're going to run this battery at the same time over and over and over again in this aircraft, is just go ahead and put a black Sharpie right here to denote where you've lined this battery up. So now every time you use it, right, I have it to the edge of this wrap right here. Okay. See? Yeah. Sometimes I do the edge of the battery, but you just got to figure out what it is and remember what it is. Oh, I got an edge of the wrap right here, this clear wrap. See? That's where you line it up to.
I did a little bit of chasing with Shelby before I got my own Dove. I was using my FPV quad to chase him around, and you can see kind of how this acts in flight. It bounces around a little bit, especially in higher wind environments. Right now, this is like 2 or 3 mile per hour wind, and maybe like 6 or 7 mile per hour gusts. This is actually a perfect day to fly. I've flown this in the exact same spot when it was worse, maybe like 12 mile per hour winds and higher gusts. It's not quite so much fun. It bounces around quite a bit. If you're getting your DJI O3 air unit, stabilized recorded footage, it smooths out a lot. But if you go back to your recorded DVR straight from your goggles, you can see just how this bounces around when you're trying to fly with some wind. I'm using a Vonic 2200 milliamp hour 3S batteries. They suggest anywhere between a 1300 to 2200 milliamp hour 3S or an 18650. They also say that the max cruise time is 35 minutes. That might be true, and I think it's keyword cruise, because the way that I was flying this at maybe a heavier throttle than most people, I got only 13 minutes before my battery died. These are not new batteries, but I was also pretty heavy on that throttle and flying at more proximity, like low in the sky. If you are indeed cruising, you might get more than that. It might also be because I was recording, high definition footage with the O3 air unit, turning out high milliwattage and 50 megabits of, transmission bit rate. So it's really hard to know how much you get, but all I know is I set a radio timer on my radio and make sure that I don't fly more than 13 minutes, or I will come back with a dangerously discharged battery or a forced landing where I did not intend to land because the battery just died on me. Throwing this, you gotta be kind of careful. So if you look in here, you see that the prop is right here. And if you're gonna be throwing it, your hand's right there. And if you're doing this, slice, you wanna make sure that as you throw this, your hand drops far away from the propeller. And naturally, this does kind of climb when you throw it. It kind of shoots upwards, so it should get out of your way, but just be careful. I do get a little bit of oscillation in the FPV feed at around 40% throttle, 35 to 40% throttle. I'm not sure why. I asked them why that might be, and they never really got back with me, but it doesn't happen on Shelby Vols aircraft either. So I'm not sure if that's my DJI cam vibrating at a certain, vibration from the propeller. I have no idea what that's coming from. I'm not sure if it's aircraft or if it's FPV cam related, but being new to the whole rudder system, being new to this form factor, and just the general characteristics of this aircraft, I was able to get up and flying really, really easy. Flying this in a good wind environment, I had a great time. These two fuselage plates, by the way, they're very nicely designed and they're magnetically connected. So they're tight enough you're not going to lose them. You might pop them out in a crash, but they're white, so they should be easy to find. Now, putting on these stickers is optional. However, I find that the stickers are very smooth, and to have them on the leading edge of the wing might actually help with aerodynamics and drag. The other thing that I noticed is the O3 air unit right here is easily accessible with your USB-C cable to offload footage. I really have a good time flying with the Dove. I got to get past that little issue with the video transmitter or the FPV camera kind of oscillating at around the 40% throttle point. Not sure what that is, but I can't blame it on the aircraft because it might be my O3 air unit. I'm not sure. But what I wanted to do is build it into the Dove because the manual, the product page, a lot of it talks about using it with the O3 air unit specifically. That's why when I talk about how the O3 air unit overheats recording 4K footage in here and how there might not be enough airflow for 4K footage to be recorded internally in the unit, even though that's an O3 problem, it's a characteristic of the aircraft that's making that happen. So flying it is still a good time. I also, like I said, I don't really get that 35-minute cruise time. I haven't really cruised this so much, but even flying around here at a faster pace, I think I should still be getting a little bit more flight time from what they say on the website. But it does seem powerful, it seems fast, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy chasing it when I have the opportunity to when I'm not flying it. In terms of durability, well, I haven't crashed it. So things can pop off like the wings, which is always good for durability. So if it crashes, maybe it won't break, maybe it'll just separate. You also think about the carbon fiber inside that reinforce the inside and attached to the battery and to the O3 air unit, your PWM receiver. So to have a little bit of carbon fiber in here is also good to protect your internal components. Maybe they'll keep them from flinging out the front or something in the event of a crash. I kind of have a little bit more of a tightness on this propeller. It's not as floppy as it used to be. When it was very floppy when I got it, I mean, these were just like hanging all over the place, and so they would definitely fold up during forward flight without throttle, and they would definitely fold up nicely when you land like that. Now I think they probably still might, but just not quite as much. And I don't want to loosen those screws anymore because I don't want the screws to fling out. I have some Loctite on the screws, but it's nothing like what seemed to be some sort of glue that they had installed. Maybe it was red Loctite that was on there originally, and maybe that's what I need to add back. Interesting thought, and I guess I need to experiment some more. Also, I love the case. So thank you to Vulcan Innovation for sending me their Dove, new company, new product. I like it, I'll keep flying it. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead down below. I'll also check out the video description for the link to the Dove. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, happy flying.